Mike Dennis's exploits as an explosive runner are part of Ole Miss football lore. His heroics on the gridiron first began to take shape under the tutelage of Hall of Fame coach Jack Carlisle at Jackson Murrah High School. They called him Iron Mike as he earned All-Big 8, All-State, and later All-American honors.
I went to Murrah High School. We had a great coach there. My man that I loved was Coach Jim Merritt. But Coach Carlisle came in my senior year. He prepared me for the SEC, and I think I benefited from that when I got to Ole Miss.
Despite Bear Bryant's best efforts, Dennis stayed home, thanks to some impressive recruiting efforts from Ole Miss Hall of Famers Bruiser Kennard and John Vaught.
Well, I grew up an Ole Miss fan, and but I really I considered Alabama. Bear wined and dined me, and he got Jackie Sherrill and I over there in the summer. We drove a Cadillac around Tuscaloosa. Bear he didn't say a lot, but he sent his son over to Jackson to watch my last 5 high school games at Murrah. And he had me about convinced that I needed to go over there. Coach Bruiser was the main recruiter for me. He came down and got Coach Carlisle to get me out of class on signing day. Well, the day before signing day. And so he took me up to the King Edward Hotel, so that Alabama and Mississippi State and LSU couldn't find me and put me in a hotel room. And then Coach Vaught came down at midnight, and Billy Clay, one of my teammates, came over from Pearl, and we signed at midnight. Coach Vaught signed us.
Coach Vaught knew what he had in Dennis. The eventual 1996 Ole Miss Sports Hall of Fame inductee led the Rebels in rushing, receiving, and scoring in 1965, led the team in rushing in the 1964 Sugar Bowl, and was a 2-time All-SEC selection. His time in Oxford with an SEC championship and his equally stout academic prowess prepared Dennis for whatever life had in store. And, as it turned out, he was off to the West Coast of the NFL world.
That was the last year of the double draft. And I was drafted number 1 by the Buffalo Bills, and then number 3 by the Atlanta Falcons, which was an expansion team at that time. And I had decided to sign with the Bills. And so Atlanta, after I told Rankin Smith that, he sent the notice to the Rams, and then they made a trade. And so that was a new team in the picture. And the Rams had shown a lot of interest. I really thought they were going to draft me. But anyway, they called me and wanted to sign me. And so I told them, well, I've already told the Bills I was going to sign with them. And they said, well, this is a new deal, And I said, well, that's true. They weren't an expansion team, number 1. They had a good offensive line. They needed running backs. So I just really thought that Los Angeles was the place for me. I got out there and at training camp, and after all the scrimmages, and they have some scrimmages with other teams before even the preseason starts. I had a good preseason before the real preseason game started, and so Coach Allen named me the starter for the first preseason game. And we were working on our goal line offense. And Roman Gabriel handed me the ball, and I ran into the end zone. And one of the defensive backs that was trying to make the team, the linebacker kind of had a hold of my leg, and the defensive back came down from the side and hurt my knee. 1967 was a different deal. I got back out to Los Angeles. My knee was about 70, 80%. And I played in all the preseason games, but when it got down to it, I wasn't ready. So Coach Allen put me on the reserve squad, and I'm still getting my salary because I had signed a 3-year no cut initially with the Rams. And so I was working out and got a phone call from the Packers, and they wanted me to come up there. And so I went up there in the fall of 1967. I stayed with the Packers that entire season. It was a great experience. I just really would have loved to have played in the Super Bowl. Once it got to the playoff situation, then I came on back to Mississippi, to Tennessee, to dental school. And Coach Lombardi told me when I left that day that he'd have me before next year. And I said goodbye, and it didn't happen. But it was a good thing, because when I went back in '68 to the Rams, I got to play that year. That was the year that I played the most. That was the year that I was Rookie of the Year for the Rams in 1968. It was actually my 3rd year in the league, but the first year that I actually played in the regular games.